citizens of the internet. So if you're like me at all, you probably used to watch a lot of MSNBC. You probably used to love Jon Stewart and The Daily Show and Stephen Colbert. And it's pretty stunning how terrible both of those institutions have become, or networks, whatever you want to call it, shows. MSNBC has been terrible for a long time. And The Daily Show has been bad since Jon Stewart left. I'm not a fan of Trevor Noah. It has nothing to do with his ethnic background. I just don't like his politics. He's a shit lib, unquestioning, yada, yada, yada. Not a fan. Sorry, Trevor. Do better. Anyway, I did like Jordan Klepper. I did always kind of like Jordan Klepper. He always had some kind of funny bits. Wyatt Cenac was another one on there who was great. There's a couple really funny people on there despite Trevor Noah not being that great. But I happened to catch Jordan Klepper recently on former Biden press secretary Jen Psaki's new show. And I mean, that right there tells you the fact that the former press secretary has a show on MSNBC and I would not even doubt it if the current one has one eventually too, because she's the perfect demographic. And I think she actually used to work for MSNBC. I think she used to be an MSNBC analyst. So the Democrats have fully turned MSNBC into what Fox was for Republicans. And that's probably because a lot of neocons are part of the Democrats now. You see Bill Kristol and David Frum on MSNBC, and Jennifer Rubin, all the architects, the intellectual architects of the Iraq War. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's watch this piece for a minute and talk about it.
My next guest is someone who has spent years in the trenches with the staunchest supporters of the Second Amendment. Jordan Klepper from The Daily Show has made appearances at political rallies, NRA conventions, and most recently, the rally outside the arraignment of former President Trump. Jordan Klepper joins me now. Thank you, Jordan, for taking some time this morning as you're preparing to host The Daily Show this week. So we're sitting here today. Thank you for being here. We're sitting here today following updates on yet another mass shooting in Alabama just last night at a birthday party. And these shootings are happening more frequently around the country. You've attended numerous gun shows in your time, including one of the biggest in the country recently. For the staunchest NRA supporters, guns have become a symbol of their cultural identity, it feels like. Explain to us what you think is going on here.
Well, I do think I was just recently, a couple weeks ago, at the world's largest gun show in Tulsa. And what you take in there is sort of this tactical lifestyle that is being sold to the American public. So, of course, you have your hunters and your hobbyists, but when you walk inside, you're being...
So, right off the bat, that is their lifestyle. It's not being sold to them. These people, that's who they are. You know why I'll show you why that's funny in just a second.
Sold this fear, this aggression, this victimization, asking you to take an offensive stance.
So that's exactly what MSNBC does all day, sells fear, aggression, go out and like everything that the right wing is all fascist and all the conservative Christians are fascist. And he's selling you fear right here. Oh, be afraid. These people all love guns and they're all being ramped up and given fear with guns. What I love too is MSNBC's tagline now is "This is who we are." Anyway, let's keep going.
And then we look at what's happening at the NRA convention, and you see those things echoed. It's no surprise that these NRA moves are being echoed in the MAGA movement. They're speaking to the same crowds. They're filling them with fear, victimization, and this idea that liberty is being taken from you. And that's sort of a...
Remember how we had to stop the fascists overtaking, with the last election? Liberty's being taken from you. Both parties scream that every election cycle.
The deadly cocktail, which allows all these folks to be afraid. And at the end of that, they sell them guns.
And as you just noted, I mean, you've traveled around the country asking Trump supporters and members of the GOP about their beliefs. I mean, these are amazing if people haven't seen them. What is the one thing people who despise Trump, of which there are many in the country, what should they understand about the people who still
Most of them work at
MSNBC. A lot of these
MSNBC.
people at these rallies.
You know, something I think where things become difficult, people often ask me, can people change? Can Trump supporters change their mind? Can you ever win an argument with a Trump supporter?
Yeah.
And I think you can convince somebody to change ideas. You can have discussions over what people want. You can't have discussions over who people are. And what Trump has...
This is who we are. By the way, I love that these cult members, blue cult members, who literally still believe the conspiracy theory that Donald Trump was a secret Russian elected by Putin, are out here making fun of the QAnon people as if they're worse.
Done is he's made the MAGA hat a symbol of who he is and who they are. And so you put that thing on, you don't believe in those ideas, you believe this represents you. And I was talking with
This is who we are.
A gun rights advocate, Ryan Bussey, recently, and he equated the MAGA hat with the AR-15. And so we look at this gun culture we're a part of, and you have discussions of how do we lower these casualties, and you bring up something like assault weapons, and what they've trickily done is they've made the AR-15 a new MAGA hat. So you can't debate whether or not that is something a child should have, because now that's become a point of pride and a point of identity. And that
Okay. What these guys are trying to do here is equate gun violence with Trump supporters. Okay? That's exactly what they're trying to do. And that's bullshit. Because AR-15s were popular way before Trump was a thing in gun crowds, and were used for murder way before Trump was a thing. The Sandy Hook thing happened way before Trump was president, you know? And a lot of other AR-related shootings happened way before. So this idea that, I just want to point this out, the propaganda here. They're trying to tie gun violence to Trump supporters. And that's, I mean, it's easy to do because a lot of Trump supporters like guns. Just like it's easy to tie liberals to, dudes with penises winning in women's sports, It's these culture war issues, though. This is what I want to fight against, because when left and right agree on a lot of core issues, and we're having these petty little fights over stuff like this, I think that if we had a sensible conversation about gun legislation with people who like guns, if an effort was made to say, hey, gun people, come sit to the table, let's sit and talk about what are your opinions on how we can make this better? And, there are certain opinions that are ridiculous, like giving teachers guns. More guns is not going to solve the problem. But I digress. Let's keep going.
To me, is something that is really hard to change.
Yeah. Let's take a look at some of your interviews from the day former President Trump was arraigned in New York City, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
I don't believe what you're seeing is justice.
You don't believe in the grand jury process?
I don't believe if this was a civilian, it would.
I mean, he is a civilian. He's a person with a New York address. So he shouldn't go through the grand jury process.
I believe it should be dismissed.
Because
I'm going by general gut feeling.
Because Hillary Clinton only got a fine for doing the exact same thing. Let's look at that. I mean, this guy, Jordan Klepper's obviously got an agenda, so he's not gonna show you anything that's contrary to his worldview. And this guy who's being ambushed on the street doesn't have, the internet. But essentially what Trump is being prosecuted for now, none of the Russia stuff was true. So now they're going back to a Stormy Daniels thing to try and keep him from running for president. Let's be honest about what's happening here. This has nothing to do, he's a political enemy, and they're worried to shit that he'll win again if he runs against Biden, because Biden's terrible. He's a neocon. And this is a story about the Steele dossier. This, to me, is the smoking gun for Russiagate that proves that it was all made up. The Clinton campaign had to pay a fine for funding the Steele dossier, which was the source of all the Russiagate claims during the campaign. This Christopher Steele guy was a British intelligence guy who Fusion GPS hired to collect opposition research on Trump. And that's what the Steele dossier was. None of it was verified. The FBI offered the guy $1 million to corroborate any of it, and he couldn't. And, this is where basically, basically what they got her for, if you read the small print, the conciliation agreements found probable cause to believe that both the campaign and National Party misreported the purpose of certain disbursements, which is exactly what they're going after Trump for right now. I don't know if you noticed that, but it's basically the case against Trump with Stormy Daniels is that he misreported a payment to her that he made. And the payment was supposedly, a hush money. He denies that he ever slept with her, of course. But the money that they paid her was supposedly hush money. And what they indicted him for is not putting that down as a campaign-related expense. And so, basically misreporting that payment to her. That's what they're charging him with. And right here you have proof that Clinton paid a fine for doing the exact same thing. So you won't hear that side or that fact on Jordan Klepper, because these people have spent the last 6 years running a conspiracy theory that Trump is a Russian spy in order to help ramp up a war with Russia. The Daily Show used to be good, and they used to deal in facts and make fun of the media, but now they're part of the same people they used to make fun of. Jordan Klepper's no better than Jen Psaki. Look at them, they're buddies. They're both propagandists for the ruling party. Propagandists for the ruling party. That's what they are. And you can say, yeah, Fox is propagandists for the minority. Absolutely. And when Republicans win, they'll be propagandists for the ruling party. And you have to look at them with that level of skepticism. And I think the problem is, I've had this argument with liberals. Liberals will tell you that Fox News is propaganda and that MSNBC and CNN are not. And the reality is, all of our media is state media, and I've gone over this several times. So let's go back to just a couple more little bits on this video here.
I see is, the government is stepping over their bounds and doing what they're doing here, indicting Donald Trump. This stuff happens all the time.
What stuff?
Does happen all the time. It happened to Clinton.
Funding business records.
She paid a fine.
His own money for one thing.
And out of all the cases up against Donald Trump, this is probably the weakest one.
Probably the weakest one.
Yeah.
So when I watch,
So that's supposed to be funny because there's multiple cases against Donald Trump. Look at Joe Biden's history. His family runs corrupt side businesses. You could play this game all day as if you have no moral high ground.
watch that and I hear jaw-dropping comments like that, which, by the way, you've done many, many videos that are similar. You seem to think very quickly on your feet, but how do you prepare to kind of
Yes, I'm very good at propaganda.
dive into those Trump rallies or events where there's going to be a lot of Trump supporters?
Well, there's a Zen I have to get into first and foremost to be prepared to
meditation
get all sorts of new
How do you talk to these dirty, deplorable people all day? See, this is why the Democrats are so fucking disgusting. This self-congratulatory lack of self-awareness, just like, I'm above you, this snooty, they're just gross. I can't believe I used to, be part of this. It makes me feel bad. And I've apologized to my conservative friends for being like these assholes. Look at how do you prepare yourself to talk to normal people who like work real jobs and stuff? Like I'm so used to sucking assholes at dinner parties and drinking champagne with politicians, and media personalities who also suck politicians' assholes. How do you prepare yourself to deal with regular people, Jordan? Well, I have to pray and do Zen stuff, because these people stink and they, frankly, have a lot of the same beliefs that I do on the other side of the spectrum. And why would I ever do anything but make fun of them?
Creative ideas. Medication helps. Intoxication also doesn't hurt. We
But
often
do you
talk
anticipate
about
what you're going to ask
treating
them?
this. Yeah, we almost call it debate prep. I go out there with certain assumptions. I read the news sources a lot of the folks at these rallies are ingesting. I check out Newsmax, OAN. I go on the Reddit boards. You understand these arguments. We debate.
I mean, let's be honest too. A lot of those networks have ridiculous stuff as ridiculous as this. I don't hate them either. They're in this era. The best reporting is coming from those conservative outlets because good reporting is speaking truth to power. And since the Democrats are currently the ruling party, the conservative news is a lot more skeptical.
Debate prep. We talk about these arguments. We talk about follow-up questions we have. We look at for logical fallacies, and then we go into the world and engage. And more often than not, the people that you talk to haven't had to go beyond that first gut reaction to follow up with that second question. And that.
Wow. Stunning lack of self-awareness.
That's where we find the humor and or the anthropological interest.
Turns out the follow-ups may be what get people sometimes.
Yeah.
You've also done a...
So, Jordan, out of curiosity, how do you feel about the reality that Hillary Clinton had to pay a fine for the Steele dossier, which was found to be entirely fake? And how do you feel about the reality that Christopher Steele could not corroborate any of the evidence in that, and the entire basis and premise for Trump Russiagate is a fraud that was still being pushed, that is still being pushed by fakes in the media like yourself today? How do you deal with that, Jordan? That's the question I would ask him if he approached me. Of course, I would never go to one of those rallies, so it's also kind of the audience you're dealing with. Jordan's not going to go talk to, Tim Pool or someone who could actually, or Russell Brand or someone who could actually, debate him honestly and counter his propaganda with real arguments, Let's keep going.
A lot of work diving into some of the wildest MAGA conspiracy theories, of which there are many. What has been the wildest thing you've uncovered, or something that's really stuck out to you?
Remember the Russian bounties article where they said, and she probably reported it in the press room, that Russians were paying bounties for American officers in Taliban to the Taliban. They were paying bounties to the Taliban to kill Americans in Afghanistan. And then like a couple months later, it came out that they're like, yeah, that was just a rumor from the intelligence world. We didn't actually have any corroborating evidence. It's pretty much like a fake story that the entire press just trumpeted.
Well, I'm shocked at how often JFK Jr. is invoked as not only somebody who is still alive, but who is now a Republican and potentially in the Oval Office.
There's a veiled shot at RFK Jr., who is already polling well with Democrats who haven't even heard him speak yet.
I think a thing that really scares me, though, is how so many folks in the MAGA movement are unable to let go of the idea that Donald Trump isn't still in power. And not that he won.
Okay, this is what I love too. Neither are you. Neither. The stunning lack of self-awareness for him to say, oh, these MAGA people act like Trump is still in power. The entire press still reports on Trump constantly, like he's still the president, like he still matters.
In the election, that seems to be commonplace right now. You believe that he won the election. It's more so the number of people who truly believe that he still has power. He's still making decisions. And I think that goes to how much.
These are the same people who believe that Putin chose our president in 2016. this guy's like, oh, Putin totally picked the president for the U.S. in 2016, and then comes out here and tries to make fun of MAGA people for being their worship of Trump. That's why the Daily Show isn't funny anymore, because they don't have any clarity. They don't have any real moral clarity or high ground. That's what Jon Stewart brought to the equation, and it's completely gone under Trevor Noah.
Much we want to believe these conspiracies are true, to the point that we can't even relinquish the idea that Donald Trump doesn't pull the strings.
Oh my God. Yeah, just listen to these people. Describing that such psychological projection in its most extreme form. This guy, I guarantee you, thinks Russia picked the president in 2016, and so these people just can't let go of the idea that Donald Trump isn't president anymore. Just like you can't let go of the idea that he actually won the election and it wasn't racism
anymore. And that's just sort
or
of
Putin.
That's the magic trick he's pulled. It's somebody who's so afraid of loss and admitting any kind of defeat that even his supporters can't admit that he doesn't have that power curve.
Yeah, so in 2016, remember, Jordan, when the Democrats lost to Trump, and then they spent 4 years blaming it on Russia and racism and white supremacy and all kinds of stuff like that. Do you remember that?
So you're hosting the Daily Show this upcoming week. I know you've been spending some time out in the field. There's a lot to talk about, I think it's fair to say. What is the topic you're most excited to delve into that we can all expect as viewers?
Well, I want to delve into what's happening right now. I was at this Tulsa gun show, and we're going to look at why America is obsessed with the AR-15. I was with AOC just the other day talking about a violence prevention program in New York City, and I spent some time with Governor Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, my home state, and we talked about the gun control legislation.
The governor who had an FBI manufactured plot with multiple, like there were more informants trying to kidnap her than actual people that the FBI entrapped.
We talked about how abortion is an issue that she was able to run on, and sort of the future of Michigan politics and national politics.
So I'm going to probably bail out there. But on the AR thing, I wanted to talk about that for a minute because that's an interesting thing to me. And the reality is the reason ARs are popular has nothing to do with, or the reason, honestly, this is one of the things that gets left out of the gun debate constantly. And these guys aren't going to touch on it. Jordan and Jennifer Propaganda for Biden lady, because the reality is the reason guns are so popular in America is because of capitalism. Because there's companies selling them. And it's another thing that I think is stunning, especially with liberals today, is how many $1 billion did we send for weapons to Ukraine? Like out one side of our mouths, we're dumping billions and billions into foreign wars, and we have to do this, and we have to send billions of weapons to Ukraine, missiles and planes and tanks and whatever we can to destroy Russia, destroy over here. And then over here, we're like, why are there so many shootings in America? Couldn't be our massive obsession and subsidy of weapons programs and companies in the United States, could it? And that got me curious about who makes AR. And I kind of just want to close out on this point because I thought this was really interesting. The company that makes AR, Colt Group, is not even an American company. Check this out. Colt Group SE, holding company for the Czech firearms and related industries based in Prague. I don't even think this is the U.S. stock market. It looks like, is it France? Because it's in euros. So yeah, I don't think that's even like NASDAQ. But I thought that was interesting because, I mean, think about it. As a foreign enemy, what's the best way to take a country out? Just load it up with weapons and let them kill each other. And I think that's kind of interesting. That's an interesting way to think about it. And my take on guns is like, look, just to close out with this, people should be able to own guns, especially if you're a law-abiding citizen and you love guns. You should be able to own one. But we're the dumb asses of the world, and we're like the Plaxico Burress of the world, the guy who accidentally shot himself in the leg and ruined his entire NFL career. That's who America is right now. It's not that we need to get rid of guns, because I don't think you could ever do that. It's just that we're the sloppy dipshits about guns when we could have tighter, more responsible laws and be tight and professional and legit, not just a bunch of the guns over here. That's how we are right now, and it's sad. But again, this is an angle you might not have thought of. If I was a foreign country who wanted to, destroy America, I would just go, okay, well, there's no gun laws there. Let's just make a bunch of really high powered guns and flood their country with them, make them really popular, market them well, and then they'll just kill each other. Then we don't even have to do anything. We'll just watch the country implode from a distance. So anyway, MSNBC sucks. They're painfully unaware of who they are. They're sitting here projecting on Trump supporters as they spent 4 years pretending that Putin secretly elected Trump, Oh, QAnon's so dumb. Oh, yeah, did you know that our president was secretly elected by Putin, but we just can't really find the evidence to take him out? We did spent billions of dollars doing this FBI investigation, and we had shirts that said Mueller time, and then when he didn't prosecute the guy and couldn't find the evidence, we still pretended that it's well, he didn't really say that, and now we're indicting him on something that the other candidate he ran against actually did and paid a fine for. And yeah, you're dumb, by the way. Anyway, take care of yourselves out there.